We have calorie count, which is how many calories. Mm-hmm. Then you have calorie source, which is from what food. What do you think is going to be the more important one to focus on?
So I think if you're talking to an audience, if I'm talking to my clients, anything like that, right? I identify both by stating that your calorie count is always going to differ, right? But your source is finding what food works best for you, right? So we have so many different diets out there. I know you yourself are more on the keto, and
yeah, I mean, I've tried all of them. I've tried keto. I've tried somewhat of carnivore. I've done like the higher carb, the lower fat. And in my eyes, I would say it doesn't even matter the source in that sense.
Okay.
So it's like, I would almost say the calorie count is the most important if you're at an advanced level. But at a newer level, it might be the source, because eliminating shittier foods and eating whole foods, you're going to be more full. This is the Basu Lifestyle Show. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about the count, I think like how we grew up thinking, what was it, 1,500 or 2,200, we had to hit that amount, right? And the first thing that we were taught growing up as athletes in high school and into college and stuff was, well, you work out so hard, doesn't really matter what you eat as long as you hit that count. Yeah. And then you got to go into kind of this new age where PEDs, the performance enhancing drugs, are so highly involved that these guys they're building muscle at such a high rate that it really doesn't matter what they eat. So if we're talking about natural bodybuilders, if you are somebody that's just coming into the gym and you are at a lower weight, yes, the count I think is going to matter the most, right? And because it's going to probably be hard for you to reach a significant amount of calories to start putting on weight, I think you can't really consider the source as much as you can when you get to, like you said, an advanced level. Now, let's say you're 10 years in, and you have a baseline for your fitness, you have a baseline for your health, you have maybe tried a few different diet plans. I think that's then when a source matters, because you know how many meals you have to take in. You know what your body should feel like after a good workout, at the end of the week, what weight you're comfortable with, or maybe what your weight goal is. So then I think you take that kind of advanced knowledge and break it down.
There's so many different levels in the beginning to like advance that it's hard for anybody who's starting out to like know where to start. Yeah. But I think like I've said before, starting with focusing on real food, like eliminating the processed stuff, that's going to help you feel more full. You're going to feel more full. You're not going to have to eat as many snacks and not get that like sugar rush where you need more of that. Absolutely. And I think that's like the starting point. Not like, okay, I need to hit 2,500, I need to hit 3,000. Like, focus on that kind of makes the most sense.
Yeah, so when I have these conversations, I usually have them with my wife's little cousin, right? And he's maybe, at this stage, he's like 18, but he's only like 145, 150 pounds. Great muscle bodies, great physique. If he really dedicates himself to weightlifting, I believe he could put on a lot of weight, right? But he's not a weightlifter. That's not really his thing. Basketball is his thing. So if he were to come to me and go, man, I want to put on some weight, what do I do? I would actually probably have him focus on the weightlifting routine and just tell him he has to eat, right? Because I feel like it could be overwhelming sometimes when you take these new clients and you say, you have to do this that you don't like, and you have to do this that you don't like, and then you got to do more, and you just keep on building up, and then they don't stick to it. And we're seeing that all the time now. Let's be real. This new I was kind of say generation era of weightlifters and bodybuilders, they're not really sticking to it. They're trying, and if they're not seeing the results right away, they're either quitting or they're doing drugs.
And the realistic thing is no result is going to come fast.
No.
Like this 17-year-old world, especially now, the young generation, everything's instant gratification. To where now it's like, oh, well, I started working out, I should be able to see muscle. I should be able to take a Snapchat for this for the girls. I should be able to have... That's not how this works.
No, not at all.
It's gonna take time.
Absolutely. So that's why I say when you're starting, I think you're just focusing on that count. If you're trying to lose, you want your calories to be below. You want to make sure that you are burning more than you're taking in.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's do it that way instead of trying to like go back and forth between them. So calorie count. If you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in somewhat of a deficit.
Exactly.
Okay. So keep going on that. We'll stick with that one.
Yeah. So if you're doing that and you're trying to go on a deficit, that's it. You can. It's a lot of different ways nowadays to find out what your baseline is. You can do your basal metabolic rate. There's a whole type of formula out there where you can find out based on your weight how much you're burning without working out, just by being alive. And then you have a lot of really cheap routes, man. You get a watch right now, and it can measure your heart rate and tell you how much you're burning throughout the workout. And then you just make sure that whatever you're burning throughout the day, you're taking in less. And that is really the biggest baseline to start losing weight.
Yeah, I mean, there's IFBB Pro has a calculator that you can help figure it out just by height, weight, where you're currently at if you're trying to lose or gain. Carb Manager, which is also a food tracking app, which I use, does the same thing. And it's going to give you an idea. Like, it's not going to be specific. But if you stick to that for 2 or 3 weeks and weigh yourself throughout it, if you're not losing any weight, you may need to lower your fucking calories a little bit. It's not like it's not really rocket science.
No,
it can be simplified. It's not this really hard thing to comprehend. It's just a matter of sticking to it and actually doing it.
Exactly. But also understand that if you are trying to do a calorie deficit and you do not want to go into a whole food, healthy food type of diet, you want to stick to what you're doing, but you're going to do less, you're going to feel hungrier much more often than you would if you found, let's say, more of a carnivore diet. Because I will say, this is my first go around with the carnivore diet since I found out a few years ago, and I am full much quicker. I feel much better. I'm not really in the mood to cheat, right? Because I'm not starting my days or ending my days at that high hunger level that I usually was at. So, but that's just a different idea that may not be for everybody.
Yeah, we're both kind of messing around right now. It's more like an animal base. It's not really carnivore because we are eating other stuff. Like me, I know I'm eating, sometimes they won't even allow you to eat eggs. I'm eating eggs, beef, chicken, and small amount of veggies, some sweet potatoes. So I'm adding in a little bit of carbs. So it's more the keto animal based, but it is close. It is like I'm prioritizing meat and protein every meal. Like my protein numbers are high as hell. And I thought it was hard to hit high protein without protein shakes. Just eat more meat.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel more full. You're going to get more of the nutrients because especially beef is more nutrient dense than a lot of other foods. So it's like you don't even need to supplement a lot of times with that.
I agree. And like I said, though, we've been in the game for a long time.
Oh my God, yeah.
We've been in the game for a while. And also we don't really have a routine of cheating. So it's kind of like I found that back in the day when I would try to start my diet again, right? And all of a sudden I'm not drinking juices, I'm not drinking sports drinks, I'm drinking strictly water. I would get full from that water so quick. But if it was a Powerade or something, I could bring it down, I could chug the whole thing down. So I think understanding that when you do start your diet and all of a sudden you're not eating as much pizza and as much chips, it's going to be hard to hit that calorie count because this is a different food source.
Let's also throw in, like, people are like, oh, you're more disciplined, this, that, and the other. We started lifting 15, say. Yeah. Seriously. I mean, you started before me.
Yeah.
But say 15. In our early 20s, we were drinking, going to fucking Wendy's after, doing all types of crazy drinking, partying, eating whatever. Like, our early 20s, like, to say, like, you don't understand or this, that, or the other, we've been there.
Yeah.
We've done it.
Absolutely. And we would break it up. We would have our moments when we were doing that a lot, and then, all right, I'm starting to get a little puffy in the stomach. We would chill, and then, we definitely did both. And we knew during that stage, we're like, all right, we're kind of wild right now. But we had a good time. We were young. And that happens. I mean, it's all right. It is a different mindset that you have to take when it's time to cut that out and to start your real lifestyle type program, right? Because that's really what we're trying to identify at the end of the day. We're not telling you to do this and this is 3. We're trying to say, find something that you are going to be able to stick with for the rest of your life because that's the end goal. The end goal is health. And long-term health.
Yeah, especially at our age. Like, younger people, I mean, if you told us that at 20, we would have been like, the hell are you talking about longevity? What is longevity?
Yeah.
But, like, once you hit, say, 25 to 30, you start thinking longevity because you're thinking family. You're thinking, I want to be around. I want to be able to play with my kids. I want to be able to do all these things.
Yeah.
And, like, you got to think the longevity game. And the earlier you start to see that, I think, the better because you get to our mindset where it's like, okay, you're making choices. You know what I fucking heard, which was awesome?
What was that?
It was choose to make yourself proud over making yourself happy. So when you're choosing happiness, you're like, okay, that pizza's going to make me happy. Yeah. Oh, those drinks are going to make me happy. Going out tonight and staying out till 3 is going to make me happy in the moment. Now, if you choose, you want to make yourself proud, it's like, okay, that pizza, I'm not going to be proud of myself after I eat that pizza. Yeah. I'm going to be proud if I stick to my meals. At the end of the day, which choice is going to make you more proud at the end of the day to say that was my day?
Absolutely.
And it hit me. I'm not going to say who said it because it's too controversial. But I heard that and I was like, that's a fucking way to live.
I mean, that's when I would have a lot of these clients, and after we kind of broke through, and I would bring them out to that 21-day challenge. And I would always tell them, I'm like, do your best to stick to this. And if by chance you're not able to, let's jump right back on tomorrow, right? Because I want that to be fresh in your mind. Like, I failed yesterday. I did whatever I did, and it didn't even feel that good. I'm not even that happy with myself. So now I'm going to start, and I'm going to remember that disappointment. Because what happens a lot of times, I see it all the time, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, eat like shit, drink like shit. Monday, I'm going to start this workout program, right? But you didn't really fail Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. If anything, in your head, you were like, Monday, I'm starting this workout program, so I'm going to lose my mind.
With anything.
And absolutely go ape shit, and it feels fun. But then when you actually, Monday you start, Tuesday you feel a little bit better, Wednesday you feel better, you make it to Friday and all of a sudden you're waking up better, you're feeling better. Maybe the scale hasn't changed. Maybe you're not seeing any physiological changes, but you know you feel better. And then Saturday comes and you fail, and you actually, wow, you can feel it. Like, I drank, and Sunday, I do not feel the way I felt on Friday. Like, that's why it's so important to jump back on and change whatever you have to change. Maybe that diet plan that you were doing was too strict for you right now. Find something that you can stick to and that you're gonna be able to maybe modify in advance as you go on.
Yeah, because going 5 for 7, maybe okay in baseball is at batting average, but like in terms of losing weight or getting in good shape, you can't go 5 for 7.
You can't.
5 for 7 is a loser.
Absolutely, it is, and it's just you have to understand that when you take in those foods, when you drink those drinks, when you do all those things, your body reacts. Your body doesn't want that. It doesn't want that. Your mind wants it, and it's associated that with some term of joy and, like you said,
dopamine,
happiness right now, right? But it doesn't want it. And so as soon as you have that donut, you drink that drink, you eat that food that you know you're not supposed to eat, you become inflamed, right? Your body's working overtime trying to figure out a way to digest it. And so now you're fatigued, your sugar levels have spiked and going up through the roof and now have crashed, and there's nothing in you that is as optimal as it should be.
Yeah, when you're going up and down like that too, you don't realize that plays into your mood because all your hormones are going up and down.
Absolutely.
So like when you're like, oh, I feel anxious or I feel this way, like part of that is because of how you're eating and how you're training. Mm-hmm. I feel like sports and us working out young taught you how to kind of beat your anxiety, your sadness or whatever. Like anytime if it was like later in the day and you start feeling a little down and whatever and you're by yourself, it's like, I need to go for a run. I need to go for a walk. I need to do some push-ups. And after doing them, you feel better. Like you can beat your mind away from feeling anxious and feeling depressed, but it's a matter of actually figuring out what is going to trigger you to go into that other side.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. And yeah, having that sports reference, man, it's amazing. There's unfortunately not as many kids playing sports right now as there was at one point in time. So maybe that reference doesn't necessarily hit home for people the same way, but I think the baseline of that message is just find a way to control that anxiety and that emotion. I remember reading a book maybe a year or two ago, and it spoke about emotional eating, right? And I was like, there's no way I'm an emotional eater, because you automatically assume emotional is sad.
Yeah.
And you think of that movie scene, some girl that's just been broken up with and she's sad and she's eating ice cream in bed. But you don't understand or maybe recognize that the anxiety that you have before you go to a job that you don't like makes you stop at Wawa. And all of a sudden you're grabbing a muffin, a donut, some energy drink,
or and super sweetened coffee.
That sweet coffee,
you can't start
whatever.
your day with a 800 calorie coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna try and talk shit on somebody who's eating like a pound of beef or a steak or something for breakfast, and it's like, dude, the calorie count is the same.
Yeah.
Like if I have steak and eggs for breakfast, it adds up to say 800, 900 calories. You might be having that in a drink and a muffin. Yeah. And that is doing absolutely nothing for you.
Nah, man. It's just spiking you, and then you're going down. And now you have to put something else in your body to level that out.
10 o'clock, you need it. 10 o'clock. I used to do that. I would have breakfast at 6 a.m. I'd have a 10 o'clock snack. I'd have lunch. I'd have a 3 o'clock afternoon snack. Dinner, sometimes a nighttime snack, because I was prioritizing more of a protein and carbs basically than fat. I was eating really little to no fat. And now when I switch it around, I have 3 meals and I'm set. Maybe I'll have a snack here and there, a 4th meal if I'm trying to gain.
Yep.
But you don't need to be snacking all day when you're having satisfying meals.
Absolutely. Man, I remember maybe the first week was a little hard, but that second week of doing more of a keto carnivore, I remember being in the office and all of a sudden that time passed that I usually was absolutely craving something. And I'm talking about not coming from a diet plan that was shit. Just coming from a diet plan that had more carbs, maybe a little bit more sugar, something like that all of a sudden when I'm hitting 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm like, I can't even work. My stomach's rumbling. I'm about to crash. But all of a sudden having that, I'm getting 10:30. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize what time it was, you know?
You're like, it's 1 o'clock. I need to eat some lunch.
Yeah. And what that does for your mind too, right? Because you're not crashing. You're not stressed on what to eat next, and your body is working really well. And I thought the coolest thing was when I did that and not really realizing, just kind of sticking to it, obviously hitting the gym, some days doing 2-a-day sessions, but just sticking to the diet. And all of a sudden getting dressed to go somewhere and I put some pants on and I was like, oh man, these got a little space in them. And then, you start moving around and you're like, my legs feel so light. I felt amazing.
Yeah, sometimes you have a steak and afterwards you're like, I feel good. My mind's moving. I'm like, I could go for a workout at 6 o'clock at night. I'm like, I could go for a nice walk. We could do a little push-ups or something. You finish a pizza.
Yep.
You are ready to lay on the couch like it's after Thanksgiving to watch football.
Absolutely. And so I think if we're sticking to the count versus source thing, right? One thing that comes to my mind is the different nutritional programs that are out there. And I just want to speak from my own opinion. Having maybe a little bit of what I felt was like a health scare earlier this year when I just had so much mucus in my system. My stomach felt bloated. I was achy and everything. And so the first diet plan I went on was pescatarian. A lot of people have asked me about that. Yeah, so that's going to be essentially your fish and veggies, right? Seafood and vegetables. No meat, but also really, really low carb sources because it's literally fish and veggies. So I wasn't eating fish sandwiches. I was still deleting a lot of the gluten out of my system. I wasn't having pasta, bread, anything like that. I was having, let's say, salmon and asparagus. I know people feel some type of way about tilapia, but whatever. Tilapia, different, it's a lot of different fish out there. All right. And that's what I was eating to break that up because you do have to be concerned about mercury to a certain extent. I would have some type of vegetable meal or sometimes even the veggie meats. And I'll be very honest with you. When I first did pescatarian, we brought a lot of the veggie meats. I'm talking about the veggie sausages and stuff like that. After a few years of doing that, one thing I found was I was still having a lot of bloating. And when you look back at it and I look in the ingredients and I see the large amount of soy and odd amounts of chemicals.
Things that you can't even say or know what the hell it is.
Yeah, I was like, wow, all right, so that's probably a no-go. So we did. My wife and I, we deleted the kind of the veggie meats, or at least we picked a few that we felt were quality, right? But let's be real out there, it's not a whole lot of good quality.
No.
So then you're saying if I'm not eating the fish and eggs are included, if I'm not able to really reach my protein count, what was happening, I was losing the weight, my digestive system felt amazing, I was sore all the time, man. And I mean, I'm talking about having to sit in the sauna for 15 minutes just to kind of get the body moving to go do the workouts that I now felt so good that I could do.
Yeah.
But, and also one thing I found was it was taking me a lot longer to get into my cardiovascular peak, right? Running the 5Ks and the 10Ks at the pace that I'm usually running when I'm in good shape, I just wasn't able to because my body wasn't recovering. So then you and I talked. I was feeling good. I had figured out a couple of things that I didn't want to have in, and you kind of talked me into giving the carnivore shot. And first off, the time was shortened, which was crazy. What would generally take me a month to do on pescatarian, I saw in like 10 days. From a result standpoint, from a weight loss standpoint, and the recovery, nothing's ever touched it.
It's weird because there's like a Dr. Anthony Chafee who talks a lot about carnivore, and I'm not completely carnivore like we said, but he was talking about the recovery, and he's like, when you don't eat a lot of the plants, he's like, there's some kind of defense chemical. I mean, this is his assumption, hypothesis, whatever. There's some kind of defense chemicals in there that make your body sore. If you don't have that, you don't really get sore enough.
Yeah.
I could go through a killer workout, and I'm usually still not sore after or the next day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's kind of crazy because you're like, well, like, why did I not hit it hard enough? Like, what's going on? It's one of those things that we haven't figured out yet. But I mean, if your body agrees, if your body doesn't agree with meat, or if you're like so crazy strong in your beliefs that you don't want to eat meat, perfectly fine.
Absolutely.
But if you're trying to be a bodybuilder or just in shape, it's going to be hard as hell to meet your protein and also get it from a source, like you said, that's not 50 ingredients long. Yeah. Meat is one ingredient.
Yep.
It's that meat.
Well, quality meat.
I mean, quality. Look, I would rather choose, like, all right, so chicken may not be the best quality meat, say, at times or whatever. Like, we want to try and get, obviously, like, a nice organic chicken breast, yes, or, like, organic whatever thighs, whatever kind of chicken. But, like, at the end of the day, even the chicken that, like, isn't that, it's still just chicken.
Yeah,
or, like, the mushed up veggie whatever burger is mushed up who the fuck knows what.
Yeah.
Even some of the protein powders, like, I feel like that was almost such like a scam. Like, we grew up looking at Fitness Magazine and all that, and you had all these bodybuilders saying, I take this protein, I take that protein, you have to take a scoop after your workout. It's like, if you're eating 3 quality size like protein meals, prioritizing protein, you don't even need to take, like, I don't even take protein anymore. If you need it as a snack, great, but like, you don't need to be taking it right after your workout because so-and-so did, who's on steroids and everything else on their son, doesn't even take that protein.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It feels like such a scam.
Dude, I remember taking those proteins because,
wait, you know. Tell the story. Tell the story about when you were taking, what were you taking? A protein before, protein after?
Protein before, protein after, protein for the snack, and I couldn't shit to save my life, man. I was sitting on the toilet all freaking day. And as soon as I went to training camp, I think that was our senior year of high school, I went to training camp, and they were like, you were going to be a linebacker, but we're putting you on the ground. Because my gut was like hanging over. And I was working out, running, eating well. That stuff, whatever was in there, I mean, it probably wasn't for human consumption. And I'm not even going to put it out there and trash the company, but I'm going to say that I think our point is to be aware of what you're putting in the body. Right?
Absolutely.
That's really the main thing. It's not to trash pescatarian, because I would still go back to it many times, and I would still advise people that are doing a nutritional program in the beginning, give as many of these a shot as you can. But just be aware, you know, they have to put ingredients on the back for a reason. Open that up or look on the back, flip it around, and see if that's stuff that you want to put in your body, because unfortunately, these companies, they're doing some things that they do not feel obligated to tell you. So if you don't look for it, you're not going to find out.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, choose a style of eating, choose a calorie count, stick to it for 30, 60 days, journal what you're eating, journal how you feel, and from there, basically, if that doesn't work in 60 days, try something else. Be honest with yourself if you actually cheated or not. And, you know, I think that's the best way to do it.
I think so, too. I think people will see a lot of results doing it that way.
Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel.